We have a guest tonight. Jane Cox is an anthropologist and archaeologist who is the cultural resource planner for Anne Arundel County. Jane, tell us a little about where you grew up and why you started playing in the dirt at such an early age.
Well, I actually grew up right around the corner in Davidsonville, and for my entire life, I've had a passion for history in this area. And when I went to college and I took an archaeology class, I thought, hey, they'll pay me to do this? And I've been playing in the dirt ever since. So I'm really fortunate to be able to not only do archaeology, but do archaeology in the place I grew up and the place I really care about.
Tell us how long people have lived in this area.
We are a mere blip on the radar screen. People started living in this area in Anne Arundel County in the Chesapeake region over 12,000 years ago, which is just mind-boggling when you really look at how long us Europeans have been here.
Who was here in 1608 when Captain John Smith, having arrived at Jamestown, made the first European exploration of the Chesapeake Bay and came up along these shores?
The prehistoric people that were here when John Smith showed up were of the Algonquin tradition. That was a language group that covered from Virginia, North Carolina, up through Pennsylvania. And these people lived in villages, very organized social structures. They had chiefdoms. There was a quasi-government system. And those were the people that when John Smith came up the Chesapeake, he encountered. It was wonderful. He left behind a fantastic map that shows where all of those villages that he encountered were located. And we've been able to do, throughout the Chesapeake region, we've been able to relocate a lot of those. And interestingly, the site that we've been working on here in Anne Arundel County, Pig Point, John Smith's map stops right before you get to Pig Point. So he never was able to tell anybody that this fantastic site that we've discovered in Lothian was here. We have found what we've called a feasting area at Pig Point. This is a village and a ceremonial center that was occupied continuously for 8,500 years. We find things like animal bone that has been carved into a tool. We find all sorts of butchered remains all out of this feasting area, so we can really reconstruct their diet. And we've found things like a grape seed, how appropriate to this area. We've found evidence for the types of nuts that they ate, lots of burnt nuts. We find fire spots or burned areas where pots would have sat into a fire, and it really gives us an idea of the types of food that they were eating. We also find a lot of what we call faunal material, essentially the bones that are left over from dinner. And we find, as you'd expect in this area, lots of venison. And one of the things that we do is use heated rocks to throw into a pot of stew, and that would help cook it in addition to the fire source on the exterior. Another thing that we find quite a bit of evidence for is smoked fish, as we just enjoyed with the first course. When the fish were running, they would get as much fish as they could, and a perfect way to preserve that is the smoking process, so then they could enjoy fish later on in the season when it wasn't readily available. It's amazing to try to understand how these people lived on the landscape, how they made a living from an environment that they had to figure out where to go find dinner every single day.